Okay, so welcome back. Just gonna skip through the little intro here. And so where we left off last time is over here, and the reason why we took off here, and we were told that we can go to the arena here and use the Starry Shrine, and this is it here, but unfortunately it's blocked off. There's no way to get in right now. So once we win the kids tournament, we're going to be able to do this. Now this is important why we want to choose Beano, Slash, and the Curse Lamp that you get. And the reasons are this. He has no wild, and that is going to be a huge bonus later on. And the Curse Lamp just has really good stats. So we can go to the kids tournament. And these are the rules. You can't use any items, and you forfeit the tournament completely if you flee. Now, we're gonna fight off against other kids, technically, in this little round. But this is how the tournament goes. See here, the thing that was the command function is now been replaced with a no skill function. So essentially, what you're saying is you can't use a skill. We don't want to do that. We really just want to use charge, with the exception of Fess, because Fess has upper, and upper increases defense, and that allows you to really do whatever you need to. Of course, you're not going to be taking too much damage on this first fight. It's rather easy, so you don't really have to worry about it too much. Sorry about the sound. I just realized that I didn't have the sound really turned on too well. I think I had it muted. That was my fault. And you're just seeing monsters that you're going to be seeing later on in the game, really from the next level. And right now you see, like, we have a bat here. The Draki's been for a while. And your opponents have skills, and they have 3 monsters. I think this is the first instance in which we're actually seeing all 3 monsters on the field. And they're just like this. Really, these 3 guys are the best guys to go with. You're probably going to win. I think it's like a 90% win rate with these 3 guys, because you pretty much can't lose. So don't worry about it. Just pretty much mash A through this whole section. But it's to give you an idea of how to handle the arena. Now, obviously, we're going to take damage, but so these guys here are pretty easy. Not much really to go over here. But you just really mash A through this section and hope that you win. There's no real way of otherwise doing this. You can't use. I don't think you can use items in this here. I don't think you can. No, you can't. You can't use items, so you have to really just rely on your monsters. And by the end of the game, in order to do this, you're gonna want certain skills on your monsters, and I'll show you how to do that. But that'll come later, and I'll go over that as we come to it. Sorry about that. Looks like I kind of lagged a little bit. And we're going to receive the pirate key, which is nice, but, you know, whatever. We're going to continue on here. Not much really to say about this. And you're basically just going to go to level 2. Now, after every tournament, you're fully healed up, so you don't have to worry about healing up again at all. Now, I do want to sell some items. I think I handled that last time, so I do want to buy a few more items when we get to the next level, which is the pirate level, which is the level we just got. You're not going to have to do any grinding with this team off the bat, but you're going to have to do some grinding when you get to pirate. It's simply because it's level 2, and you essentially have level 1 monsters, and pretty much up until this level here, the second level, the game is actually pretty linear. Now, when I say it's linear, I mean that you're going to pretty much have these monsters, and you're pretty much going to be doing all the same things that I'm doing. You're probably going to have a little bit of RNG of the items that you're going to be finding here on the ground within the first few frames, but generally you're going to be seeing the same thing. Now, of course, wild slimes. Obviously, as you can tell, he took quite a beating. He didn't get much experience points. And you're probably like, well, why do I have to do any grinding? These guys seem pretty easy. It's because now there's actually 3 monsters here in a row. I don't have any meat, which is a problem because you want to pick up an army ant and a mad gopher in this world. You absolutely have to pick up both, at least one. And I recommend that you actually pick up 2 of at least mad gophers. Because they do provide pretty good skills later on, and I do recommend you pick up at least one army. A second one is optional. He's not really that important. Insects aren't really that important in the game until the end when you want to breed the ultimate monster in the game, which I have, so I really won't be going over that, and I'll probably just be going over how to breed them in later on. So I'm going to come over here real quick and just buy some food. But that'll be after I sell things like the antidote. And you see the wind here is worth a lot. Always pick up a staff because it's always worth a ton of money. You never really have to worry about it too much. And those items are just really good and important for later on. So I want to buy pork chops here. And this is why I want to come here. Because you can't buy pork chops in the previous worlds that you've been in. You just can't. So really, you're not really given any direction here. Unlike the first level where you go to the first town, you're just kind of left alone. And this is an eggplanton. He's not really useful. Grass types aren't really useful till the end of the game. And it's really just for breeding. Oh, and this is what I was talking about. The random chance of them just joining you without any meat. You can only recruit certain monsters this way. It's just a random chance. Once again, you're not going to see that till the end of the game, and you're really, really strong, and they're really for really powerful monsters. But this is the same thing. So there's always a chance at the end of every battle that a monster will join you. It's always going to be the last monster you kill, so you never really have to worry about which one. You can always try and pick and choose, but it's not really too reliable if you start using commands. I find that the percentages tend to go down when you do that. And I usually say 1 out of every, like 1,000 battles, that'll happen. Sometimes I've heard that it's a little, the chances are a little different, the chances are a little less. But anyways, you come here and you should talk to this guy, and you're going to start dancing. And the rhythm just doesn't seem quite through if there's a monster that could lead the performance dance. And he just says you're a novice. And you want to take note for this guy for later on in the game. And you want to talk to this guy. So this guy here tells you about the mermaid's treasure, and it was hurled out in the sea. And the mirror is where it sailed out to sea, and then there's pirates going after it. And it was pretty bad. He doesn't really go over too much. There's not too much story in this little area of the game. So since I definitely want an army, I'm going to throw a pork chop at these 2 guys. Now, your monsters are going to pretty much take you all the way up to the next boss, which is on the Cape. And you want to remember that dance right away because you kind of want to go back. I didn't get an army yet there, which is really bad, but I'm going to have to try, which means I'm going to have to try again later. When I come back through this area, or I'm going to have to come back and do a grind of this area and get it again, which is just kind of unfortunate, but it happens. And here's a mad gopher. Mad gophers are just necessary in general. So, unfortunately, my monsters are attacking the mad gopher and not the eggplanton, which means that there's a good chance that I'm going to actually end up with a with an eggplanton. So I'm going to actually change all my monsters to attack the eggplanton instead. You gotta be really careful of that because you can pick and choose what monsters it is, but it's always the last monster you kill. So you don't want to, you know. There we go. I got a mad gopher. That's actually really good luck. We're not going to take Capley with us, because obviously he's not nearly as good as our monsters here. Oops. Have to go around here. Now, what you want to do is you want to come up, and you got to go around, and you got to search for this little cave. Where is it? If I remember correctly, it's actually off to the side. I accidentally messed that up, but we get another chance here to get army ants, and that's going to be really important. And this is why you have to do a little bit of grinding, because you have to get these guys. And regardless, you're going to need to get experience anyways for the mini boss a little bit. Simply because the mini boss, yeah, he's kind of strong. He's not too strong. You should be able to handle him. But at the same time, you end up having to fight a bunch of monsters along the way. And there's no like save point or anything. There's no way to heal without using items. And so it can get really, really difficult relatively quickly. Not because the mini boss is difficult, but simply because he's surrounded by a lot of difficult things and a lot of difficult enemies. Let's see if I can get an army ant here. That's what I really want. Really want to get the army ant before I continue on. This is not good RNG. My monsters are going after the army ants and ignoring the mad gophers. I mean, yes, mad gophers are good, but I already have one, so it's not as important to get the second one. And it just wastes pork chops. It's just unfortunate. So essentially what you want to do is you want to come over here. It was my mistake the first time. Draki. So he is the first instance of a flying monster we've encountered, and you really do want to pick up these guys. These guys are just useful in general. They're not necessarily good, but they're just really useful to have. And yes, he gets up, and we're going to name him, and we're just going to send him back to the farm. And they're going to become useful for later. They're not useful because they're strong, they're useful because we can do stuff with them later. And I'll go over that when we get to it. So this is the lair of the mini-boss, and what you want to do is you really want to explore this place, because there's a lot of strong monsters here, there's a lot of weak monsters here, so a little bit of a mix. But you can very well die in this cave. So, in that treasure chest we picked up the rib. The rib is a monster that is not a monster, it's an item that tames just as well and better than the pork chop. Now, Bino's taken a lot of damage lately, and I don't want him to die, because he's going to be really, really useful because his defense stat is very high. And we're going to need to use him for later fights. So I want him to get as much experience as possible, so I'm going to try and keep him alive, and I'm going to try and keep Slash alive as well. So hopefully, we pick something up here. Okay, we didn't get anything, which is kind of disappointing because, as you can see, the RNG is really coming out in this game. There are times when you'll just get monsters left and right, but then there are also times where you're not going to get anything, and that's just like the worst thing to happen in one of these playthroughs. You spend a lot of money and you don't get anything. It happens a lot. It becomes a less of a factor near the end of the game, but in the beginning of the game here, you want as many monsters as possible, so you constantly want to be throwing meat at everything. Exit bell. Firm scale, that's also very good. Oop, didn't mean to click A on that. Yeah, that also happens quite a lot. You press A on a lot of other things, and things happen. Now, the next item that we've been receiving is the Love Water. The Love Water allows you to heal more than the herbs, and it's really kind of useful for this fight, but after which, it's not really useful for anything. This is just a Pearl Gel. He doesn't count as a water monster, but as a slime, so just kind of remember that. If you need slime monsters, you're gonna, you can always come back here and get the Pearl Gel, and he has a really good skill. He has, well, not a really good skill, but he has a decent skill, which is upper, and that means you can increase your defense again. You don't really need him. I'm not gonna pick him up. He's just not worth it to me. There's one thing that I do want in here, and it's this guy right here. Now, I'm going to heal up here just real quick to make sure I'm not going to do anything. Now, I picked up a Worm Scale, and that raises defense by 10. I want to put that on Fez, because he has the lowest amount of HP. And this boss tends to do a little bit of damage. And so, this guy gets mad because, he messes up pretty much his T's and his F's. Now, you don't have to throw any meat at this mini-boss. Just like the lamp, you don't need to do that. So you can just pretty much mash A. Now what this guy has is he has the skill Bi Attack, which is a really, really deadly attack. As you can see, Slash took a ton of damage. Now, here, what I want to do is I want to send these guys in here. What I meant to do is press skill on Fez and make him use it so that we all get a nice increase here. Now he ignored my orders, which is terrible. That's the worst thing that can happen. When he ignores orders, it's really, really bad, because now all of a sudden Slash has taken a lot of damage this turn, and I didn't want him to. But I can't use an item and heal at the same time, and it looks like Slash might actually die here, which is really bad. So I want to have Fez use a mixed attack, and it looks like he did. He finally used it. Of course, Slash is still gonna die, but Slash dies, but we get increased defense here, which is the important thing. So we might actually survive this match. Just with these two. Unfortunately, I didn't bring any healing items with me, and he uses agility up, so that's going to let us move first, which is nice, but it's not going to be too helpful, because I need him now to do damage, because Slash has died. Beating this boss is generally around 50%, depends on how many critical hits and how many healing items you have. If you have a lot of healing items, you'll probably survive, but the chances that you actually need to buy that many healing items are really, really low, simply because Fez has increased, which is why I said you really want to have him as part of your team. Now, unfortunately, I got 2 critical hits, but Hood Squid is not dying anytime soon, and I'm starting to take a lot of damage relatively quickly. There we go, finally got it. Dino was promoted to level 9, that's really great. Level 10, even better. This was promoted to level 10. Okay, we want to say yes, you need to absolutely take him. And the one you actually want to replace is the Curse Lamp. I know that, yes, Slash is dead, and he's technically not useful, but we're going to use an Exit Bell here to instantly warp out of the dungeon. It's one of the items we picked up in the chest as we came along through there. And there's a reason for this. Hood Squid is really, really good, and so is Beavern because of his charge-up ability, and it's just his overall stats. Same thing with Slash, and that's why Slash is good. The most important reason is because, as you can see, they have 0 wild, which means they're going to actually obey what I tell them to do. His By Attack and Lure Dance, and pretty much everything there. And Slash will get his first skill relatively soon. If he didn't die on that fight, he would have gotten it, but Fez ignored orders, so that didn't happen. I'm in a pretty bad situation, so I'm going to use a Rib here and hope that Squiz can carry me through here and I get something. Now, unfortunately, he decided to attack the Army Ant, which is just bad in general. But as you can see, Squiz is really powerful. He's much more powerful than your other monsters at this point. That makes him really, really good, so he's really important to pick up. And now your offense is just really more important. Here, we're going to take Lisette. We're not going to take him with us. I'm just gonna use the Warp Wing out of here, so this way I don't have to fight as much. And this is why I say you probably have to do a little bit of grinding, because if you don't really get those increase commands, and let's say your Curse Lamp uses instead Agility Up instead of Increase right away, there's a good chance you'll pretty much die on the boss, because Fez doesn't do enough damage. And Hood Squid will most likely just take him out, and that's a little part of the RNG. So whenever you see a bottle on the ground, it's either a love water or a potion. Very rarely is it going to be an item called Elf Water, which is really, really decent, but it's not amazing, to say the least. Obviously, we don't need any of these guys here. So we're just going to try and blow past these guys as much as possible here. And the reason for this is that we want to do something. We want to go back to that village. And Hood Squid told us that, well, Squiz, he's always going to be named Squiz, he told us that his dancing is really special. Now, you remember when I went to that second village, is that, the guy told us that we needed somebody with dancing experience. So in other words, you have to take Squiz on your adventure anyways. And so that's really nice that the developers at Square Enix decided to make him really, really good for this level. And he's a really good monster just in general. Because of his By Attack. By Attack is really, really good. I want this Army Ant I'm gonna throw a rib at it, and that should be enough to get him to join my team. If not, it's just really, really, really poor luck, and I finally get one. So we're finally set for after this chapter. You gotta make sure that you absolutely get these guys at around this point, otherwise you're just gonna be wasting a lot of time. And yes, we're gonna dance. So when you dance now with Squiz in your party, you see that there's a whole different animation. This is because Squiz leads the party and forces you to do things. You want to do this now. And it's going to lure a mermaid to the surface. And you're going to get an extra item, which is a tiny metal. Now, you get the tiny metal, and yes, I understand that people will say, like, oh, but you have to come back here later and do it anyways. Why don't you do it then? It's because you don't get the tiny metal then. You want to do this now so that you get the tiny metal and are able, and that's really important for later on. Like I told you earlier, tiny metals are really important. So that's why you definitely want to get that one. It's an extra tiny metal, and it's really, really useful. Oops. Didn't mean to exit that town there. What we're going to do here is we're going to come in the tavern, and we're going to hear Prince Kameha's music again. So Kameha basically, he's now you find out that Kameha is also on the search for a new naval, and he was also sent here to the pirate world, using the pirate key. Talk to this guy. And why are you with monsters that look on? You want to hear his tales? Yes, you do. And so he tells you that he was a slave on a pirate ship, and that the moon rock would be possible to approach their ship without it. So basically, he tells you that you need to go get help back from the mermaids, and this is why you wanted to get do the dance first the first time, because of his ability to do that. Now this is where you can pick up the ribs, but they're not really that important here. I would say just stick with the pork chops for now. The ribs are better for the next level. Sorry about that. Now I'm just gonna rest up in here at the end really quickly, just because I want to recover my health. I really don't want to die too quickly, because now I have to make the trek back to that island, and if the RNG isn't good, I want to run into something else here as well. That's unfortunately I'm just running into Brackies and arms, which is nice. Okay, Slash did decent damage there. Anyways, moving along. Like I said, it's really better to play this game on emulator, because you can cut out all the grinding, because you can speed it up. But hey, it happens. So we're gonna come back here and talk to this guy again. So you do the dance for a second time, and the mermaid comes up again. So this time she'll tell you that you want the moon rock, and obviously you can't do this again if you don't get the tiny metal the first time. So this lady tells you to go get the moon rock, and the moon rock is still owned by the pirate ship. And you can come here and talk to this lady, and she tells you that if you want to go home, you can go up to her. Anyways, so you can talk to these mermaids, but there's nothing really here. And you just tell that you want to come back up to the surface here. And now from that point on, she'll always be there. So, like I said, it's not really useful to come in here and not get the tiny metal. Getting the tiny metal is really important. Now, the friend staff in this game is actually also a really good item. I'm going to tell you why. The friend staff here is really, really useful for being able to get things like what it does is it doubles your attack essentially. So essentially, you're going to do double your damage. And this is the third Mad Gopher that's joined me, and it's a random chance, so I'm just going to say yes. Now I'm just going to send them back to the farm. Now I've picked up a lot of females so far, and not a lot of males, which is not a good thing, but it's not going to matter just yet, so I don't really have to worry about it, but it will become evident in the future of how important it is. Now I am going to cut off here before we start the next part because I do have to do just a little bit of grinding. Oh, and so right here, just before I go, these guys you actually want to throw a pork chop at. Both of these monsters here provide good skills. The first one is the Patil, and he casts speed up and he eventually learns increase like the Curse Lamp. And the Octo Kid is really good because he has the ability Lure Dance, just like Squiz, which makes your enemies dance with you, um, and it skips their turn essentially. But what the Octo Kid has that's really important is heal, and you really, really want that. Um, so, yes, it's really, really easy to fight the Octo Kid, but what you want to do is you really want to knock out the Patils, or you want to, it depends which one you want first, but you should really attack the Patils first because you want that heal. Heal is a very important skill that you're going to need later on in the game, and when I mean need, you're going to absolutely need it. So you kind of do want Octokid, and yes, the Patils are good, but Octokid is definitely a monster you 100% want. So whenever you see it, if you don't have one, just throw any piece of meat at it, try to get it to join your team, and I got it on the first try, which is really lucky. Alright, and then next time, I will continue on with the next part, so I'm just going to do a little bit of grinding real quick, and then I'll go on from there.